Welcome back to the weekly news roundup. This is the privacy and the security editions. These are recorded live Fridays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on several different streaming platforms. We always have the latest stream up on SwitchedToLinux.com/live. You can get the brief details and all of the various stream links wherever we are streaming right now over there. Check the description in this video here for any for all the link of list of all of the articles we were talking about across the news section for the whole week. And yay, we are out of YouTube parole right now, and that means that the chapters are going to start showing up on the videos again. So for you guys who said you should put chapters in the videos, they have been in the videos, but if you are in the YouTube gulag or on YouTube parole, then they will not put the chapters up there. But I am out of parole as of today. I've been a good boy apparently. And so they are putting chapters back on, and I did verify chapters are back on now, so hopefully you will see chapters. All right, guys. All right. So let's go ahead and start in on the news. First is there is a new bill in Washington state to help protect health data. This is starting to close in the gap. It borrows heavily from GDPR and from the California's CPRA. As far as definitions of de-identifications for the CPRA, and the GDPR defines consent as a clear affirmative act by a consumer that openly communicates a consumer's freely given, informed, opt-in, voluntary, specific, and unambiguous written consent, which may include written consent provided by electronic means. But then what the bill is going to do is it removes any health company which is providing any form of health data from collecting any information beyond what is absolutely necessary to do the purpose for which they have done. We need this pushed out all sorts of places, and so that's kind of what we want to see. This is a step in the right direction. Washington is doing some good things here. Of course, stick around. Washington State is going to show up in Sillyville again this week because they've just lost their ever-loving minds over there. But this is something they're actually doing right. A new health bill to protect data out there based heavily on these. And this is why we need to celebrate the decent bills that are coming out. Not that this is perfect, but hey, it's a step in the direction. And as I said before, the best part about the post-Roe world is people are starting to actually think about data privacy now, which is I'm all about thinking of data privacy. Next up, Facebook and Instagram are going to have to limit ad targeting teenagers based on gender, which is kind of funny because I thought nobody could identify a person's gender except that person themselves. But apparently Facebook and Instagram, you can target teenagers based on their gender, and this is just causing the whole world to go away. This has nothing to do with the crazy wokeness. This has to do with more regulations, mostly over in the EU, about what Meta is allowed to do with the data. And they said if you're under the age of 18, the only thing you can use is, I believe it was the age and the current location. So any other metric, you cannot specifically target a teenager. So you can't target them based on the pages they viewed or based on the things that they liked or anything like that. So this is in March. They'll expand the ad preferences in Facebook and Instagram to let teens see fewer sales pitches on given topics. Teens could already hide the ads from specific advertisers, but this gives them the choice of automatically downpaying whole categories like TV dramas or footwear. Social media giant has put ever tighter restrictions on the content teens can access. 2021, they barred advertisers from using their interests. Instagram also made accounts private by default for under 16s. And this year, limited sensitive content for all teen users. I just think, guys, if we need any government regulation regarding these, teenagers shouldn't be on these platforms. None of them. These platforms cause brain damage, okay? We do not need to be on these platforms if you are still a young and susceptible child. Let's not forget that Facebook is the company that, without any human review board and without any specific opt-in, engaged in psychological experiments of all of their users, including teenagers, teenagers to see, hey, if we feed people nothing but a bunch of depressive things, will they commit suicide? And Facebook determined that, yes, indeed, this will happen. And no review board committee, which is required to do any scientific study on human beings. No human review board study was over this. No specific opt-in was over this. Facebook just said, hey, we have a treasure trove of data. Let's see what we can do. And that is a seriously problematic thing. This is why I don't think teenagers should be on these platforms at all. Overall, this is why I tend to avoid social media at all possible cases. And I'm certainly not addicted to it. But, that's what Facebook is up to. Meta still in the news. Meta alleges that a surveillance firm collected data on 600,000 users by fake accounts. Enter the next reason to not use social media accounts. So this is the company called Voyager. Guardian did an investigation into it. And what they found is Voyager is partnering with police departments, and it was used to predict crime. So we have a Minority Report situation going. So Voyager would go on there with tons of fake accounts. It would scrape up all sorts of data on any types of users. Oftentimes the police would say, hey, scrape up all the data on this. And then it would feed this into an AI system and then use this data to talk about the likelihood that said person is going to actually engage in criminal behavior. So we have moved from the precogs determining your behavior to the AI determining your future behavior. So if you have not seen Minority Report and you are not familiar with the concept of the movie, it's a really old movie. Spoilers. Yes, they have 3 psychics that are going over, seeing the future and predicting crime, and they start a whole police branch called the pre-crime division. And any crime that was going to happen, basically the precogs completely stopped all premeditated murder. The only forms of murder or serious crime that would actually show up is crimes of passion, which the movie says happens because, well, the premeditation process can be seen so far in advance that it's easier to detect by the 3 psychics. The crimes of passion happen much quicker, and so there's not as much vibrance of the world to tell the precogs about it. And while this is utilizing AI, feeding in a bunch of data, and the police basically saying, hey, watch a bunch of guys and spit us back the numbers of the people who are going to commit crimes in the future so we can watch them more closely. Pre-crime is now a thing. Now Meta's like, hey, we're warning about this. This is so bad. A little bit of the pot calling the kettle black, but, All right, on to our feature story today. Inner Cosmos is a new company. They acquired $10 million to treat depression with a brain chip implant. Eek. So the idea is what they're going to do is they're going to implant this neural implant, and what they do is they call it the digital pill for the mind, a tiny implant similar to a cochlear implant. We've built on the cochlear implant much larger market of depression, which will later also be used to treat other cognitive disorders. So basically they put the little thing over here. These are the actual things that go in, and they're data chips. They're computer chips. In fact, that it even says here that the doctor from a computer terminal through the internet can monitor the status of your chip and do some programming and whatever else to reprogram your brain around depression. So depression is the largest chronic disease in the world before the Kufis happened, and then more during the government response. I wonder why. Let's see. Force everybody to lock themselves inside. And here's the thing. I almost didn't change. I changed the stores I shopped to. I went and shopped in Amish community because I wasn't going to be harassed about wearing some stupid, pointless, and useless face diaper during all of this stuff. And but for me, I didn't think. But now I'm watching like a lot of like, if you look at several people's court cases, right? They're dealing with Kufi responses. I'm just like, Are people actually taking this? Did people actually decide they're not going to see their friends and family? Well, I guess we do have a society of lemmings. So, okay. I need to get this mouse fixed. It scrolls up and down too fast sometimes. So the enormous segment of mental health industry represents a market ready for disruption. He teamed up with a neurosurgeon, a pioneer of laser surgery, to develop brain-computer interface that is minimally embedded in the head. The tiny implant gets slipped under the skin and sits non-invasively on the skull. It's a brain implant. Now, they say it doesn't actually go into the brain. It just sits outside. But they say it has two unique parts. So first, there's the implant the size of a fingernail. It is implanted under the skin and lays unobtrusively next to the skull. Sure. The other part is the prescription pod, which is quite small, which snaps onto hair to power the device. The psychiatrist programs the device, the power or data pod. They tune the device, moving the dials for each individual patient's need. The clinician need not be local to do this. The sensors are constantly monitoring the implant. The doctor can check a dashboard to see how the patient's brains are doing in real time. The company recently received an FDA investigational device exemption approval to conduct the first human study. Great. So now doctors from somewhere across the internet can get in here, see how your brain's doing, and make adjustments. Aha! So is this the cause of the zombie apocalypse, or is this just the enslavement of mankind? I'm not completely sure. Here's their website, innercosmos.io, the digital pill for the mind. We care deeply about restoring humanity's cognitive power by rebalancing networks. Yeah, right. Here we just have basically stuff. Oh, look at this. Moves at your speed, eliminating the need for multiple day-long trips to the clinic required by a neurostatic approach. Yeah, we just go ahead and do it through the internet instead because that sounds great. Here's all of the founders. So if any of these guys happen to show up on any of your doctor-patient lists, you should run in fleeing in terror the other direction. That's kind of crazy. And of course, you can come over here and contact them on their forum. Well, that's what they're doing. And speaking of fun brain implants, I'll use this time to talk about my science fiction novel where I talk about the possible downsides of implanting chips inside of your brain. So my book, Synaptergy, actually came out, a few years ago. And so you can have a look at it over there, synaptergy.com, tlm.li/s. And you can actually read the first chapter. You can listen to the first 5 minutes of the book. And you can actually click over here and see where you can pick up a copy yourself. We have softcover, print, and ebook options. There's Audible links. There's Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and anywhere else where you might want to pick up some books. Well, let's head on over to security news next. And so as we dive on into security news, first up is VLC media players being hijacked to send out malware. So this is a very similar Windows sideloading approach. This is one of the biggest and fastest growing type of way to spread malware on Windows. What's happening is through whatever vector it is, you end up downloading the application, and the VLC that they're downloading, because it's a free and open source application, is actually legit. So it's going to completely pass a Windows Defender or other virus scanner check. The problem is the way Windows system runs, it runs in a cascaded system similar to CSS. So the program needs DLL files. Usually those DLL files are in the Windows system folder, but if there is a local DLL file, it executes that one instead. Well, this version of VLC has a local DLL file, which modern Windows systems hide system files, so you can't see it. This is why if you're running Windows, you should always go into your Windows folder properties and show all hidden in system folders and files. Is this a little bit more clunky? Yes, but you will be able to see if there is a malicious DLL file in a given folder when a locally downloaded application is executed. And then what happens is the malicious download then does a sideloading attack to install the malware. They're using SEO poisoning to push these links to go up to the very top, and then you end up downloading either whether you're trying to download a copy of VLC or something else, and VLC just gets called and executed. This is the type of thing that is happening more and more common because macros are on their way out. And so this is not a problem with VLC itself. This is a company actually utilizing VLC with a malicious DLL file that triggers a sideload attack. This is why, hey, us using Linux are generally going to be safer from this one because we're downloading this stuff from the repositories, not random places on the internet. Well, hackers are selling Telegram insider server access on dark web forums. It is still not completely clear if the people actually have access to us, but this is an ad. And what they're saying is, as I've always warned before, it's not necessarily how good is your security, it's how good is your team and how many people on your team has access to the data. What they are alleging here is that for a price of $20,000, they actually have insiders inside of Telegram, is what this ad says. And you ask specific questions, and the insiders at Telegram, after you're paying the money, are going to be able to go in there and they're going to be able to grab all of the information that you need and return that back to you. They say there's a couple week turnaround, but paying the $20,000 is going to get you 6 months access to the specific part that you want. Again, we do not know if this is actually happening, but at least it is an ad that is available on the dark web. So this is how the ad says: accessing Telegram servers. I have access to the Telegram servers through my employees. I can get any information for you. And then, there's a little bit of information about, we're not negotiating here. And so the question is, what do they have? Now, they're saying that the Telegram system is too hard to hack, but they're saying they simply have insiders that simply have access to the information. Because as I've talked about in the past, Telegram is also slowly merging into one of these woke companies that will eliminate your account if you happen to engage in any form of wrongthink. And so you have to be aware of the wrongthink. And let's see, VSCode. This actually ended up on one of my sticky note lists. Here are things to look into until I realized, oh, it's a Microsoft program. Never mind that. Because I think somebody commented on my Bluefish editor video, like, well, I use VSCode. Well, I'm not using Microsoft, period. But VSCode has a marketplace, just like everything else that has these marketplaces to extend everything. And what these guys found out is that the VSCode marketplace, to add all sorts of fun features into your VSCode, is so radically insecure, anybody can get away with installing any form of malware and nobody ever looks into it because Microsoft is more interested in having a big, robust system than a system that is safe and secure. And so what they did here is they're like, hey, what if we put in something like they first actually tried typo squatting. So they're trying typo squatting of applications, like of extensions and plugins. But then they found out you don't even have to typo squat, because VS Code allows you to install or to upload onto its marketplace a piece of software that has the exact same name as another piece of software. And you can spoof the GitHub links. You can spoof absolutely everything, except they said you cannot spoof the view count and the ratings, I think. I know view count, I think ratings was the other one. So all you need to do is use a legitimate project. You need to just steal the logo. You need to steal the description from the legitimate one. And then you just need to engage in just a little bit of SEO gaming in order to get people to download yours instead of the other one. And then you are simply installing malware into your VS Code application. So the person that will just stick to VS Code instead of Bluefish Editor, how you like your VS Code now? And that's okay if you need to use it. But this was just a fun one. So this was Aquasec as the company that looked at it. They looked at the verification badge and concluded the feature is meaningless, as anyone published Any published with a purchased domain gets one, regardless of the relevance of the domain to the software project. While the researchers only made proof of concept, they also found actual malicious code lurking inside the store. So they're just doing a proof of concept. While doing the proof of concept, they found actual malicious stuff in there. API generator plugin and code tester apparently are malware. So if you are using VSCode, make sure you are being very cautious about the extensions you are installing. Vet them 3 or 4 times over and only install them if you absolutely have to. And on to our feature story. God's Chicken lacks God's security. Fast food restaurant Chick-fil-A informed its customers of having launched an investigation into suspicious activity. So I started staring at this going, wait, what's going on here? So if you had a Chick-fil-A account. So first, I'm pondering a Chick-fil-A account. And so they actually temporarily removed the ability to create a Chick-fil-A account. So if you have just come on a trend, say, Chick-fil-A has accounts? It's God's Chicken. I need an account over there. You might not be able to create the account right now. But even worse than creating the account, you can actually load an account balance and place your chicken order. And as you have your chicken order placed, you can pay with an available balance on your card. Or if that's not enough, you can attach a payment option to your Chick-fil-A account. And so people were specifically hacking the Chick-fil-A service, targeting the accounts that had the biggest balances or legitimate credit cards targeted. So I guess that they were stealing chicken, I guess. I don't know. I gotta say, though, if you are stealing somebody's account to steal their money to go through Chick-fil-A, you're simply going to hell. You are literally stealing people's accounts to order God's Chicken. What are you doing? Are you waiting for the lightning bolts to come? I mean, come on. But yeah, in all suspiciousness, Chick-fil-A announced on Twitter they are investigating suspicious activity. And then they did say down here, where was it at? We're investigating suspicious activity, reads a statement. We're still investigating how certain customers became subject to this activity. We have already taken precautions to secure the affected member accounts and are continuing to review the situation. They've suspended the creation of new accounts and is prohibiting the use of disposable email addresses. So if you're like the privacy guy, like, all right, I got to have the thing just to get my chicken, you cannot use a disposable email anymore. So sorry about that. Let's see, took a break from class and ordered my Chick-fil-A, got the email warning, so I checked my messages and found my number might be compromised and my provider was hacked. Oh boy, look at that. Somewhere it said down here, customers are recommended to immediately reset their Chick-fil-A account password. The company also recommends using a unique, complex password that is not associated with any other online accounts. Password should be one that is unique to your Chick-fil-A account. Also recommends users of removing any stored payment method, like a credit or debit cards, from their account. The threat actors are selling some of the stolen accounts for $200 to $200, depending on the account balance, linked to the payment method or the Chick-fil-A 1 points. So apparently you might do this to get points. Guys, if you are downloading an app and creating a internet-based account for a fast food company to get points and free chicken, you need to reevaluate your life choices. Okay, I get that Chick-fil-A is pretty good. I get that particularly the Christians out there have an unnatural and possibly idolatrous devotion to Chick-fil-A. But please, if you need to get points to get free chicken from Chick-fil-A, you need to reevaluate your life decisions, okay? It is not worth it. It is not worth it at all. All right. Well, that is our rant for Chick-fil-A. If you want to help support the channel, we do have a locals account, SwitchedToLinux.locals.com. We got to get that community built up over there so we can have some fun times. And we will, when I do have new scripts for Tinfoil Hat Time and other things, I have actually done a few early release stuff over there on Patreon, Locals, Subscribestar. So join on over there, SwitchedToLinux.locals.com. Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.